Hi, I'm Dwayne Brown. Tonight on KPBS Evening Edition, accusations of a war on women over 40 are leveled against the North County Transit District and its executive director.
And amid allegations of racism, activists in El Cajon demand diversity on the city council. I'm Peggy Pico. Also ahead, on the 10th anniversary of the Colorado River Water Pact, how the deal impacts San Diego water supply and what we can expect from it in the next decade.
A video released by community activists who say lies are being spread about the Barrio Logan community plan. And if you have citrus trees in your yard, they could be harboring some very dangerous pests. The tiny bugs are a big threat to California's citrus industry. KPBS Evening Edition starts now. Hi, good evening. Thanks for joining us. The North County Transit District is being accused tonight of waging a war on women over 40 in its ranks. The district is being sued by a former Human Resources employee who's claiming age and gender discrimination. iNewsSource reporter Brad Racino has been following the story. He joins us from the News Center. Brad, this is the second discrimination suit filed against North County Transit in a year and a half. Who's filing these claims and what are they saying?
Right, Dwayne. Last year, the district's former manager of bus operations, Kim Stone, filed a lawsuit alleging the district and specifically its executive director, Matt Tucker, were discriminatory in their personnel practices. The district paid Stone and her lawyer more than $42,000 earlier this year. Last month, Virginia Moeller, a former HR employee, is accusing the district and Tucker again of a similar practice, specifically targeting older female employees for layoff and hiring younger, more attractive female replacements. Moeller is also accusing the district of retaliating against her for pointing out that Tucker's actions were against the law.
And Brad, you point out in your report Tucker took over in December 2008. The district was facing a budget deficit then and actually had to cut 80% of its staff, and he was actually praised by the board and the San Diego Taxpayers Association for the action. Could this simply be about outsourcing or having a younger, cheaper labor force?
Of course, anything is possible. But what the lawsuits allege, and what we've heard many, many times from former employees, both men and women, is that this practice is deliberately aimed at older women. We put together a photo array of all the women over 40 in top positions at the agency who were either fired, laid off, demoted under the executive director, as well as women who resigned as a direct result of his actions. We've also put together an array of all the women who were hired into leadership positions under Tucker. Taken together, it shows what many former employees have detailed as the executive director's, quote, war on women over 40.
So does Tucker have the power to single-handedly fire and hire folks?
Yes, he does. That power used to rest with both the executive director and the HR manager, but a sweeping policy change in 2011 transferred all that power to Tucker. It also gave him power to create and abolish positions within the agency and made him the last stop for any employee grievances.
Any comment on this from the agency's board of directors?
We reached out to Tucker, to his board chairman, Supervisor Bill Horn, and to one other board member, but they all declined to comment, citing the pending litigation.
iNewsSource reporter Brad Racino. Of course, we have more online at kpbs.org/transit. El Cajon has become a melting pot of cultures with growing Latino and Iraqi populations, but protesters say the city council there doesn't reflect the diversity. Peggy Pico takes a closer look at the issue.
Allegations of racism were the main focus of the El Cajon City Council meeting last night. Dozens of community members told the council that minorities are treated unfairly in El Cajon and said the council does not reflect the diversity of the community. Joining me are Mark Arabo, a lifelong El Cajon resident whose family is from Iraq, and on the phone, El Cajon Mayor Pro Tem Bill Wells. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mark, let's start with you. Prior to the city council meeting, there was a protest yesterday at the El Cajon Civic Center. What led up to that?
It was 3 years in the making of racially insensitive comments. And if you could visit newelcajon.org, it sources everything from 2011 when the city said there's a Chaldean mafia. When they found out 2 out of 21 were Chaldean, every law agency apologized except El Cajon. They said we stand by the statement. 2012, another statement was made. and 2013, the final one, when they started attacking kids.
And
So
I have a statement, a quote from that. El Cajon's Mayor Mark Lewis is quoted in the May 2013 issue of The Progressive as saying some Chaldean school children who receive free lunches are being picked up by Mercedes-Benzes. He added, first time they come over here, it doesn't take them too long to learn where all the freebies are. Pro Tem Mayor Bill Wells, you've seen this remark and heard others from the mayor and council about minorities in El Cajon. What is your response?
Well, that's an insensitive remark, and he really shouldn't have said anything like that. And if he did say that, apparently he says he did, he should apologize.
Okay. And Mark, what were some things that were said at the city council meeting last night by people asking for maybe some sensitivity or diversity?
The main thing we want is sensitivity to all minorities and all cultures and respect for human dignity and human rights. And it'd be one thing if yesterday they said, we denounce his statement and he apologizes, but instead they try to change the focus on something that it's nothing to do with, and they never actually owned up to it. In the beginning he denied it, and at 11 o'clock he actually owned the comment, and he said, I did say that. So one thing I would hope that we all come together, and everyone asked Mark Lewis from the council to publicly apologize, and everyone else should denounce his statement and retract his statement.
And Bill Wells did just ask for that he should denounce his own statement. You know, the Mayor Lewis should denounce his statement. But I want to keep going here, Bill. You told protesters yesterday that there is no institutional racism in El Cajon government. Give us some evidence to support your point.
Well, time after time I asked people last night to show us a policy or any kind of a statement or anything that the city council has done publicly that has caused them any pain or discomfort or made them feel like they were being treated unfairly. And nobody could say anything. The truth is that all of the ordinances and the policies have been completely fair and without racism. I can say that clearly.
And I'm sorry.
I can say that clearly, and I'm concerned that we're going to go out and quickly call for racism and get people all wound up. And if it's not really a problem, there's a lot of unintended consequences that can come with that kind of a statement.
So let me have Mark respond to that. Mark, we're talking about riling people up over accusations of racism, and you call El Cajon the Escondido of East County, and you've said that the city should consider redistricting. Why would you like to see that redistricting happen?
Well, over 50% of the citizens of El Cajon are not Caucasian, and they're not represented on the council, so they don't have a voice. We want El Cajon to be as diverse as its constituents.
The city council.
The city council.
I see.
So similar to the city of San Diego and city of Chula Vista, if you carve out districts for that council seat, you'll always have minorities at the table. Right now, we're not represented.
Okay, let me ask Bill about that. Would redistricting be something that the city is willing to consider?
Well, our largest minority population are Hispanics, about 25%. We have Tony Ambrose on the Planning Commission right now, on the City Council right now, who is of Hispanic descent. We've had a gentleman by the name of Ramos, a gentleman by the name of Santos who have been on the City Council. So historically, we've had Hispanics represented on the council. Now, if you're talking about the Chaldean population, when you look at our Planning Commission, we have appointed 2 of our Planning Commissioners out of 5 that are Chaldeans. One's a woman, one's a man.
Okay. How are you reaching out, aside from this Planning Commission, Bill, how are you reaching out to diverse communities in El Cajon in terms of letting them know that their voices are heard? Do you have other things on the books trying to get that message out to them and trying to make sure that their voices are being heard?
Well, actually, yeah, I'm glad you asked that because I've been concerned about this for a while and just recently began a process of having town hall meetings. Our first one starts 2 weeks from yesterday. And I'll be going to the lower socioeconomic areas of the city, specifically apartment complexes, and having town hall meetings where people can ask me questions and really let their voices be heard.
Okay, and we'll have to end it here, Mark, with you. What are your next steps?
I want to work with the city council to put on the agenda for district-wide elections, geographic elections, and let the citizens of El Cajon, the voters, that they account to, vote on it. And I hope that he joins me in denouncing everything to do with any negativity towards any racism or minorities, and really celebrate our differences, not attack them. So I hope that he could join me in uniting the city and healing it. first steps forward.
We will be following this, Mark Arabo and El Cajon Pro Tem Mayor Bill Wells. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
A published report says North County Congressman Darrell Issa will introduce an immigration bill next week. Politico says the bill will include legal status for 6 years for people who are in the country illegally. The Republican lawmaker is quoted as saying it's halfway between full amnesty and simply rejecting people. The fight over Barrio Logan's community plan is heating up. We've told you about a petition drive to put the issue up for a citywide vote. Now, a community group has released a video of what they say are paid signature gatherers spreading misinformation. Here's an excerpt from the video.
So they're going to start building the housing, and then they complain. They start regulating this area, as well as when they build on half of the port, they're taking away from the space that the ship repair workers need to work on the ship.
This is the area. Yeah. So everything that's outlined in red is what they're going to build on.
The community plan actually calls for that area to be buffered, to be a buffer zone with no housing. The maritime industry is sponsoring the petition drive, and an industry spokesman says the incident in the video is an isolated one. You, of course, can find more about the fight online at kpbs.org. City leaders are considering a buffer zone for solar turbines at the north end of Little Italy. That's downtown. The area was the subject of an intense debate over a proposed apartment complex a couple of years ago. The company said residential buildings could bring new regulations, possibly forcing solar turbines to move. The apartment proposal was scrapped for a hotel. The buffer zone would ban new homes and other sensitive uses in the area. San Diego's attorney says the city charter is a mess and he wants it overhauled. Jan Goldsmith says there are a lot of holes in the charter. For example, there's nothing on what to do if the mayor is incapacitated and unable to serve, and no procedures for negotiating with labor unions. He's calling for a charter review commission to be formed by the end of January, but voters would have the last say to approve any changes to the charter. San Diego has taken the first step to banning plastic bags. A council committee voted unanimously today to ban the bags, but any changes won't happen anytime soon. The proposal isn't expected to reach the full council for 9 months, and it still needs to undergo an environmental review. Right now, Solana Beach is the only city in the county banning plastic bags. A computer glitch left thousands of unemployed Californians waiting for their checks last month. Now, there's word the number may be nearly 4 times higher than reported. An LA Times investigation found as many as 300,000 people were left waiting for. That's far more than the 80,000 reported by the state. Lawmakers in Sacramento are planning a hearing to find out what went wrong with the computer system. Well, it's no secret San Diego's a pricey place to live. A new report gives us an idea of just how pricey. The banking website Interest.com looked at housing affordability in the 25 largest cities, comparing the median income to the median home price. San Diego was one of the least affordable cities in the country, with a median income 38% below what you need to buy a single-family home. Only San Francisco did worse. Now, on the flip side, Atlanta was rated the most affordable. Median income there was about 25% higher than needed to buy. A couple of Rust Belt cities also made the most affordable list. San Diego County's $80 million citrus industry is being squeezed by a tiny insect carrying a tree-killing disease. KPBS business and environment reporter Eric Anderson says the local love affair with backyard citrus trees may be complicating efforts to control the pest.
Warren Lyle's family has grown oranges in the Palma Valley for 4 generations. His groves are a mix of mature and young trees, already heavy with fruit.
This young Caracara navel tree is about 2 years old, 2.5 years old. You can see it's growing with fresh new growth.
And that fresh new growth is a tender delicacy for the Asian citrus psyllid.
This is where the psyllid loves to live. This is the only place the psyllid will lay its eggs and the young will begin to grow.
Lyle is an expert on the psyllid because it feeds on the same trees that are his livelihood.
They'll land on that leaf and they have a sharp mouth part that they literally poke into the leaf and suck the fluid out.
That sounds bad, but the real threat is the disease the small insects spread. As they move around and feed on citrus trees, they can infect them with Huanglongbing disease. HLB kills citrus trees within a few years of infection. There is no cure.
We are concerned that that disease may become a death knell for our citrus industry in California, which it has become in Florida and many other places already.
Florida is dealing with widespread HLB infection. A university study there says the disease is imposing a nearly $1 billion a year hit to that state's economy. Eric Larson works for the San Diego County Farm Bureau. He says the economic footprint is smaller here, but if citrus trees are killed off, there may not be a replacement.
The citrus trees are in the valleys, in the floor of the valleys, San Pasqual Valley, Palma Valley, Pala area, where it's cold, because the citrus trees can handle the cold, and the avocado trees are on the sides of the hill where it's much less cold. You can't remove the citrus trees and then plant avocados.
Larson says local citrus farmers are mobilized. They're attacking the psyllid population with pesticides and insect predators. Keeping the psyllids' numbers low controls the risk of infection. But Larson says the disease has a lot of places to hide.
There could be more citrus trees in backyards in a place like San Diego County than there is in the commercial groves, because everybody who has a residential lot has a lemon tree, a lime tree, an orange tree. It's just such a common thing to have. Well, these could become the reservoirs of the disease.
Here are some adults right here on the back of this leaf, and they're small, and they always sit at a 45-degree angle from the substrate that they're standing on.
Tracy Ellis works with the San Diego County Department of Agriculture Weights and Measures. She's an entomologist who's bent on suppressing the spread of the psyllid. Ellis says it's easy for homeowners to miss the threat.
I think we've probably gotten a little lazy in checking for pests in our backyards on our citrus tree.
Ellis is working with researchers, state officials, and residents, but she concedes it's not easy to see the bugs. It's even harder to tell if a tree is infected with HLB. The infection devastating Florida's citrus industry likely started in a backyard.
And they didn't really know that there was an infected curry plant, which is in the same family as orange, in somebody's backyard that they had brought from probably Asia that had the disease in it. And once the vector is there, then the disease spreads.
Researchers attacking the psyllid infestation say the bug is now firmly established in Southern California. They suspect HLB is here too. Farmers like Warren Lyle think it's no longer a question of if, but of when HLB will start killing local trees. Growers hope their effort to combat the psyllids now buys enough time for scientists to find a treatment or a cure for the disease. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
A decade-old fight to restore the Salton Sea is coming to an end. Imperial County has passed a restoration plan. It calls for using the sea as a source of geothermal energy and desalinated water. Selling electricity could also raise at least $3 billion over 30 years to help pay for the construction and help revive Imperial County's struggling economy. This month marks the 10th anniversary of the historic Colorado River Accord. Peggy Pico looks at its impact on San Diego's water supply.
It's been a decade since the historic water pact between 7 states to share Colorado River water was signed. The agreement includes a deal for the Imperial Valley to sell water to San Diego County's Water Authority. How does the deal impact our water supply today, and what does it mean in the years ahead? Here to help answer those questions is Dennis Cushman with San Diego County's Water Authority. Welcome back.
Thank you, Peggy.
Now, Dennis, it's been a decade since this water deal was signed. Exactly how much water does San Diego get from the pact, and how much does it cost us?
Well, right now, the water from the Imperial Valley transfers accounts for almost a third of San Diego County's water supply, about 30% of all the water we use in San Diego County. We make payments to the Imperial Irrigation District of about $560 an acre foot, and about $400+ to Metropolitan Water District to transport that water to us here in San Diego. So altogether, it's under $1,000 an acre foot for us here in San Diego County.
Let's talk a little bit more about that with this deal here. Where would we be without it as far as in regards to the Metropolitan Water District and other sources of our water supply?
Well, what we got away from is this over-reliance on the Metropolitan Water District for almost all of our water supply. So we broke that monopoly stranglehold, if you will. But more importantly, we are receiving water with higher rights on the Colorado River through our purchases from the Imperial Irrigation District. So they're a higher priority water than the water we purchase from Metropolitan. Where would we be today if we didn't have it? Well, just a couple of years ago, over 2 straight years, Metropolitan cut our water supplies by 13%. With the water, we were able to moderate that down to less than 8% of cutback, and without it, we'd have been missing 13% of our water supply here in San Diego County.
Despite those benefits, I understand certain aspects of the agreements have been challenged in court, specifically by some farmers in the Imperial Valley. Tell us about that.
Right. Well, almost from signing the agreements on Hoover Dam 10 years ago, a number of lawsuits were filed challenging the water transfers. And fortunately, throughout all that litigation, we've defeated all of that litigation. And in fact, just last July, the last piece of that litigation went to trial and was found in favor of preserving the transfers. That's up on appeal. The farmers out there that are litigants in that suit have appealed the case, so we're yet to see an appellate court decision. But right now we've whittled all that litigation, all those lawsuits down to this last challenge, at least in state court.
And as it stands right now, the pact still stands, and we are purchasing water. The county is purchasing water from Imperial Valley.
Right. Throughout all the litigation, the water moved and the payments were made.
Well, since the pact was signed, there's been some growing concern over environmental stresses to the Colorado River. What's being done to address those issues?
Well, one of the major things that we did in partnership with the other water agencies in the state of California is we and the federal government, we created a habitat conservation plan on the lower Colorado River, the lower segments of the Colorado River, a 50-year plan to address the ecosystem and species and non-native species challenges in the lower Colorado River. So we've been investing and pursuing and implementing quite a number of programs to the tune of many tens of millions of dollars in that habitat conservation plan on the lower Colorado River. That's a piece of the puzzle to addressing those issues.
And another piece is concern over the water dwindling, the amount in the Colorado River. Do you have contingency plans for that?
Yeah, we have concerns. Right now, the Colorado River is in the driest 10-year period in its history, certainly in the developed river history over the last 100 years. So we're in a very, very dry period on the Colorado River. The Colorado River Quantification Settlement Agreement was created in part to reduce California's reliance on the Colorado River. So we were overdrafting our share of the Colorado River by almost 1 million acre feet. So we've cut back our draw as a state agencies from the Colorado River, and these water transfers are the key foundational ability to do that.
Where do we stand today, right now, as far as water reliability in San Diego County?
We are far more reliable here for our region's water supply reliability than we were 2 decades ago. We're no longer almost 100% dependent on a single supplier. We've made greater investments with local water agencies and cities in San Diego to create more new local water supplies. We've diversified our imported water supply portfolio, and we've improved the region's reliability.
All right, well, there's a whole lot more of this on our website, kpbs.org. Dennis Cushman with San Diego County Water Authority, thank you.
Thank you, Peggy.
A somber ceremony or anniversary for the Marine Corps. 30 years ago, a suicide bomber from Hezbollah killed 241 Americans at a Marine barracks in Lebanon. The date was marked with a ceremony today at Camp Lejeune in North Carolina, but soldiers and sailors were also among the dead. The Beirut bombing helped define the start of America's war against terrorists. A public memorial will be held tomorrow in Solana Beach for Sister Antonia Brenner, the American nun who ministered to inmates at a Tijuana prison for more than 30 years. The inmates called her La Mama, and her story was the subject of a documentary on KPBS last year. She died last week at the age of 86.
I'm Gwen Eiffel on the next News Hour. Cross-border tensions on the agenda as President Obama meets with the Prime Minister of Pakistan. That's Wednesday on the PBS News Hour.
The Blue Angels will soar over San Diego again next year. The Navy says it has the funding for a full slate of air shows, including the one at Miramar. Most of the military air shows were canceled this year because of federal budget cuts.
Those air shows are just an important and key way that we connect with Americans and show the Americans about their own military. So we lost that opportunity, but we made the best of it by focusing on outreach locally.
The Miramar Air Show was canceled this year because of the partial government shutdown, but it's on again next year, scheduled for October 4th and 5th. Cooler over the next couple of days, then a warm-up by the weekend. More clouds than sun along the coast over the next couple of days, with temperatures in the low 70s, a mix of sun and clouds inland, with highs mostly in the 70s. But a bit warmer for the weekend. Sunshine in the mountains with temperatures in the mid-70s. Plenty of sunshine in the desert, low 90s. You can find tonight's stories and download the KPBS app, all on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. Good night.